Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Industry Insights interview series. My name is Grace Miller, and I'm one of the PCAs at the Center for Career Development at Holy Cross. And today I'm joined by Julia Pham, who's an assistant merchant at Victoria's Secret. Julia, would you like to share a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Pham, like Grace mentioned, and I am on the merchandising team at Victoria's Secret. I graduated from Holy Cross in 2020. I was a psych major, and I'm originally from outside of Boston, from Wilmington, Massachusetts.
Oh, awesome. And so talk to me a little bit about your current employer and your job there.
Sure. So like I mentioned, I'm on the merchandising team at Victoria's Secret. I support the accessories business, which is a very, very small part of the business, but small but mighty. So within my role in merchandising, I really am responsible for the groundwork of everything that we do with products. So as a merchant, you're really working with the product throughout the entire life cycle. So you're there from conception of product all the way till the end when it goes, to SaaS or sale, as we call it. So we're working with different partners, pre-production. So that includes our design partners, our product development partners, our sourcing partners, our reg partners to really create that product and make the product tailored to our customer. So that means working with our design partners to brief them and say, okay, this is what we're seeing in the market. And this is how we're bringing it in the VS lens and seeing let's say we're walking around Soho and we're seeing from different competitors that, the color lilac is really in style right now. So we'll bring that back to our design partners and we'll say, we really love this color. We really want to invest in this color. How do we do it with the current assortment that we have? And so that's kind of like the pre-production portion of the job. And then we also work with our planning partners very heavily. So really defining what our goals are for the year in terms of financials, as well as just seeing where we're coming in from a margin standpoint, meaning, how many dollars are we actually bringing to the bank after promotions and all that good stuff. We work with our marketing partners to really bring that product to life. And we work with our D&D partners to really get that product out there to stores. So I know that's a lot. It's a very, very multifaceted role. I think you're always in constant communication with different partners and you're working with data from past product, you're working with product on the floor, and you're working with future products. So there's always this merchant joke that we never know what year it is because we're always working, a year in advance to create that product, but we are still analyzing what happened in the past and how to inform more of that, use that to inform what we'll bring into the future. So I know that was long-winded, but that's a little bit about the merchant role.
Yeah, that's great. And so are there any current trends that you're seeing as you sort of, you think about the life cycle of an item? Are there any items or things that are really trending right now?
Sure. I think one of the major themes I've seen that's trending is very much a simplistic wardrobe. So I'm sure everyone is on TikTok and knows, those get ready with me's and, where I shop, where my inspo is coming from. But I think one of the themes that is really consistent that I've been seeing out there is just really simplifying your wardrobe, right? No longer is there a need for you to get an item just for one event or, get an item every season or every week, especially in the fast fashion industry, going to Zara every week or going to Forever 21, etc. So I think in that lens, it kind of tailors off into different portions. So you can say that that trend is a little bit of sustainability, right? So people are buying less, reusing their items, and thrifting or reusing kind of past trends. But I think that overall theme really helps us to inform okay, we do not need to create an assortment with a million SKUs. We can create an assortment that's really tailored to what she wants and something that she'll have forever versus giving her something that is only seasonally appropriate and she'll only wear once. So that's kind of a trend, if you will.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what sort of influenced you to get into being a merchant in the fashion industry?
Yeah, this is a great question because I think, especially in the Holy Cross lens, we are a liberal arts school. I was a psych major and I had no idea what merchandising merchandising was. So I think when I was a junior, I connected with a bunch of alumni. I knew I wanted to be in the fashion industry, but I didn't know exactly what function in the fashion industry. So I connected with a ton of alumni from Coach, Tory Burch, et cetera. And I really learned what the merchandising role was. And for me, I really like that it split kind of this creative side. So again, working with your design partners, working with your PD partners, but also the analytical side. So working with your planning partners and really digging into the financials. So it was really a good balance of creative and analytical. And I really, really enjoyed that. But I think the one thing that really stuck out to me with the merchandising role is like how Holy Cross alumni were able to explain it. From again, like we come from lower art school. I think merchandising is one of those jobs where you're like, oh, it makes sense that it exists, but like I didn't know it existed. So I think just like learning about it through alumni and really being able to hone in on it was great. And I think the other thing too is like we have, I mean, you'll hear this all the time, but we have such a strong alumni network that there were opportunities to intern under alumni within that merchandising space. So like you can learn about it from their lens, but then you can really take it into a real life lens working in the role. So that's kind of a little bit of why I chose merchandising.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing. What skills would you say are necessary for success as a fashion merchant? And is there anything that students who might be interested in that field could do now? I know you touched a little bit on reaching out to alumni, but if you had other suggestions as well.
Yeah, sure. So the first portion, I think one of the biggest skills needed is communication, right? So like I mentioned before, you're working with every single partner under the sun. And so it's really, really important to just have open communication and constant communication, and sometimes over communication, because there's so many things that can get lost just like in the span of being a merchant. Again, you're working through so many seasons that communication with different partners is so crucial to really being successful in the role. I think other ways that you can kind of start the journey now, so connecting with alum, like I mentioned before, but also just taking a look at what's in the industry. If you're really passionate about the fashion industry, I think this will be an easy one, but just like looking at trends, whether that be from TikTok, whether that be from Instagram or anything like that, or even like more kind of like official sources, so like Business of Fashion, right? I remember when I was a junior, there were so many alums that said like, listen to a Business of Fashion podcast, right? Like listen to what they're saying about my macro trends, what they're saying about other industries that impact these trends, what they're saying about the economy, right? Like if through COVID times where people weren't spending as much, if they were spending, what were they spending on? So just things like that really contribute to where fashion is going. I think I would really strongly suggest just keeping up with the total market, and keeping up with trends.
Yeah, thank you so much. I guess one of my final questions would just be kind of if you could give some advice to yourself when you were an undergrad and you were trying to discern what you wanted to do, whether it's in fashion or outside, what would you tell your younger self now?
Yeah, I think it's really, really hard to take this in as a current student because I really struggle with it. But do not worry about it will all figure itself out. Like I know there's other industries, like I really struggled with the senior year. Like all my finance friends had jobs before they started senior year, right? So, and I was like sitting there like panicking, like, oh my God, I'm never gonna get a job. But I think in certain industries, especially fashion, it really happens like in the moment. So don't panic. And it's okay to say like, okay, I do want to be in the fashion industry, but I don't know at what capacity or what role. And I think as a college student, you have so many opportunities, whether it be interning or even shadowing an alum, to really discover what you really like and what you really don't. So whether that means, taking an internship in merchandising and saying, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe when I was in the merchandising role, like I networked with other people at the company and I talked to the marketing partners and I really enjoyed what they did. It's okay to take an internship and at the end be like, oh, maybe that's not for me. So I would strongly suggest taking those opportunities and having those experiences and really kind of running it through, like, what do I actually
Mm.
like and what do I actually don't like within the industry.
Yeah, thank you. And that is very helpful, especially being a senior. Um, but that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for taking the time to participate in this series. I know just as a student, it's always nice to hear from recent alums and sort of the trajectory that they're on. And it was really great to meet you.
Yeah, awesome. Great to meet you too. Thank you so much. And please reach out with any questions.
Yeah.